Welcome everyone to From the Road Less Traveled, a video series on all things Two Roads and business and all of the topics that we could just talk about for days. I am Christy Jones. I'm the Director of Revenue here at Two Roads. And with us today, we have Adam Slack.
I'm Adam Slack, founder of Two Roads. Yeah, and our goal here is just try to share some knowledge and hopefully have some fun doing it and keep you guys up to date what's going on at Two Roads and what we see in the industry. So we're excited.
First, let's just talk about the name from the Road Less Traveled. How did we come up with that?
Helping small business owners, and we've long believed that is the harder path, that is the road less traveled, and so we want to come alongside them.
I love that about our company. That's one of the reasons I'm here in the first place, is because of that passion for small business and entrepreneurs and things like that.
Have you heard the story of how we named the company?
Partially, I believe, but I would love to hear it.
All right, so I start this thing in April of 2011, and I don't name it. We're just kind of trying to go into the market and see if we can help people from a financial. That's all we kind of knew, is we want to help people from a financial perspective. CFO, bookkeeping, we didn't really know the specifics yet. Well, 6 months in, we realized we have something. It might work. We might actually have a business. And so, Ellen and I were talking, and I said, well, I guess we should name it. And it was just kind of funny that we, started this business and ran it for 6 months, and it was called, we had this name, but we knew that wasn't the name. It was just kind of like an LLC that we put together. So my wife has this great idea. She's like, let's have a party. And we had a guy named Bill Piper who joined us for a few years. And this was before he joined us. And he was like, she said, let's have Bill come and MC it. And he'll kind of like, just kind of help us brainstorm on names. And so she cooks this amazing meal. We've got wine. We have about 10 friends come over, couples. So it's like 5 couple friends, Bill and his wife. And we just brainstormed for like 2 hours. The wine's flowing, the food's flowing. I mean, it was just a great night. And by the end of it, we kind of got back to this kind of conclusion of, that poem, The Road Less Traveled, and just this concept of like, there's two paths. There's the corporate path, which my college roommate was clearly on at that point at Ernst & Young, and there's this small business path. And we ultimately just got excited about the concept of like, let's serve these folks. Let's help small businesses. Let's help them grow. And that road less traveled kind of came out of it. And Two Roads was born. And that's where that's where the name came from.
So had you started the LLC under a different name and then you ended up DBAing Two Roads? Is that how it worked?
Yep. Yeah. We were Simco. My family business was a consulting business, a retail and consulting business. And it was called Simco, SMCO, Slack Management Company. And so when I launched, instead of being Simco, I was Simco Financial Services.
Okay.
And so that was the LLC. It was just like, hey, I'm leaving the family business, but I'm still attached to the family business. So I'll have this kind of like sidecar name to go along with it.
It's like when people have a baby. It's like when people have a baby and they wait a few days. I've never been okay with that, like the no-name baby for a week. But
no, I don't think I could do that either. But I did that.
That's awesome. You did that with the business. That's awesome. Why financial services? Can we talk a little bit about that?
Ooh, that's a great question. Yeah. I'm not an accountant. It's kind of the joke, right? Like you start an accounting company, you're not an accountant. But I knew metrics, KPIs, whatever kind of business buzzwords you want to call them. When you can get somebody operationally, somebody who knows their business, let's think of it like a technician, like an electrician, a plumber, or a chef. They know their business. They know the art of their business. They can feel it almost when it's running right. When you give that person a metric or a KPI that is also a dashboard, like something that they can use, it's like rocket fuel, man. Like it's like a good analogy for this was, you don't fly a plane by sight only, but you do fly a plane by sight. You need the dashboard and you need the windows, right? And so I'd say the windows is what typically business owners are doing. There's a mountain over there, there's fog over there we need to stay away from, but that's it. It's kind of by feel. When you give them that dashboard and they're like, oh, I'm at 10,000 feet. I've got plenty of altitude. I'm not going to hit that mountain. Everything's going to be okay. And so I didn't know exactly how I could deliver that into the market, but I knew that if we could find a way to deliver that, we would help small businesses succeed. And if we could help small businesses in Knoxville, Tennessee succeed, I genuinely believed that you'd be able to help the economy in Knoxville, Tennessee go better. And so that was kind of the genesis of it. We've expanded beyond Knoxville, but just that concept of like, how could we help this economy? How could we help our town? You know, and
Yeah,
that's where it came from. So
that's a great analogy. And it is exactly what we do. I mean, especially in the advisory section, but just that's awesome. That's great. What made you decide that we were going to be a remote company before remote was cool?
that's a good question. Um, so I went to visit this guy in Atlanta. Let me first of all say what you see here today is at Two Roads, you know, is kind people that were very generous with their ideas to me. And, you know, they just kept telling me, watch out ahead, turn left. And then I'd be like, oh, yeah, turn left. And I would just be able to, you know, do that. And so there was a man named Ben Habbock. He's got a company in Atlanta that's similar to Two Roads. He's been doing it for a while. I think he still has it. I haven't talked to him in 10 years, but uh, we found him online and we just researched him and he's got this seemingly huge company. And we're like, well, let's go visit him. Maybe he'll share some ideas with us. So my partner and I at the time, Chad and I get in the car, we drive down there. We show up to this little strip center and this building that's like tiny. And I was like, this is not what I thought. And
You're
we
in the
walk
wrong
in.
place.
Yeah, I'm in the wrong place. We knock on the door, we walk in, he's there by himself. And I was like, okay, nice to meet you. We do the pleasantries. We go sit down in his office and you know, he said, Ben, I have to tell you from your website, it felt like your company was fairly large. And he was like, yeah, we've got about 35 employees. And I was like, yeah, this is 2012. So this is not today. You know, this is 12 years ago. And I know that seems like not that long ago, but remote work was not a thing. And he was like, yeah, well, we just use servers in the cloud and, you know, we let everybody work wherever they want to work. And me being a young business owner, I'd been in a family business, so it's pretty entrepreneurial, but still, like my dad had rules that I followed. This is how we do things. Being a young business owner, the concept of like, ooh, we can just break rules. We can do whatever we want. Like we can just stop at 3 if we want. Like we can have more vacation days if we want. Like that concept was kind of unlocked for me on that drive back. I was like, so he just lets them work wherever, and they can just do their job wherever. And so I walked back in the office. April Randolph is still with us, our director of experience, and Mackenzie were there. And I walked in, I said, y'all, you're not gonna believe this. Told them the story to meet with the guy. And I was like, what do you guys think? You want to try this working remotely thing?
Y'all want to go
And
home?
yeah, y'all want to go home? And they were like, are you serious? Kind of looking at me, kind of like, is this a test? Is what's happening here? And I was like, no, seriously. And they were like, yes. And it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and they like shut their laptops, like put it in their bag, and they're like, we're gonna go now, and left.
Before he
And
changed
we
his mind.
That's right. Before he changes his mind, and it worked. And so I went to a friend of mine who owned a managed service provider, IT company at the time, and said, I took a blank check with me. I remember we still had checks at the time before digital. And I just slid it across the table and I said, I don't know what it costs to get into the cloud. And that's showing you how like the cloud was not something that was commonplace. We didn't know what that was. We'd seen maybe Microsoft ads at the Super Bowl, but that's kind of it. What's it going to be to get in the cloud? But here's a blank check. We've got to get in the cloud because my company's going remote. And from that point forward, we've been a work anywhere culture.
Awesome. Pre-COVID, me was like when I owned my firm and employees would be like, can I work from home? Absolutely not. I had somebody call one time or I called her for an interview and I said, are you going to come to this interview today? And she goes, I thought it was like a phone interview and I thought I was going to like work from home. And I was like, no, this is like a go to the works and do the works at the works. And she was like, oh, that's not for me. And that got me thinking like, maybe I need to come into the,
into the
get up
21st.
with the times a little bit and change my ways. Well, that's awesome. I thought I was going to struggle with it when I came to Two Roads, just not having that in-office interaction, but there are so many ways that we can connect our teammates. And while I am here alone, I don't feel like I'm alone with as
I
much
know.
chatter as it goes on in all the channels and everything. So very cool. Very
Yeah, I
cool.
agree.
Well, we are going to touch on some different topics over the course of this series. Some of our favorites. What are some of your favorites from the list that we're going to be talking about?
Good question, because we've got a lot of good ones here.
Yeah.
Things like AI, what's happening with that in the marketplace? We're seeing a lot popping up in there. Thing maybe it's budgeting, like just kind of a little talk about why budgeting is important, how we view budgeting, what that looks like, how we think about it.
Mhm.
Maybe a little guide to reading financial statements. Maybe we'll just go over to a demo company, just kind of say this is what we think could look like. I think those are all great. I think remote, we
Yeah.
hit on that a little bit, but just like how do you maintain a culture in a remote world? I think
That
those are,
one's there's so many things to be said about that. That's awesome. I'm
yeah,
looking forward to the peer groups and networking. One of my favorite concepts that we really, or you in particular, embrace is there's enough room for everyone and let's learn from each other. And I just really love that whole concept. And I'm admittedly a little bit of a tax nerd, so I can talk tax until I'm blue in the face.
and that we'll lean on you for that because as we said, I'm no accountant, so maybe you can do some tax tips. And also, we
I'm
put a
an
little note on
accountant in
here.
sales, so that's
That's
kind of
right.
interesting too.
We're
People
breaking all
always
the
like
molds
to
here.
point that out in my calls. They're like, you seem to know a little bit more about this tech stuff than you should, I guess. Yeah, it's because I'm
No.
not a salesperson by trade, I guess, or training.
Yeah, I think that, for us at Two Roads, I think that's important. We've done about every way you could possibly think of to do sales. But at the end of the day, what we're really looking for is just, can we serve you? Is it a fit? And I think you do a really good job of that when clients come in. If
Right.
you're just trying to get to know their business, get to know what their pain points are, see if we think what our services can do can help them. And that's not always a yes. Sometimes that's a no. You just need to go down the street and call this person. But where it is a fit, I think it's fun. It's fun to be able to
It
serve them.
makes for less noise later when everybody's expectations are set
Yes,
and we are good fits for each other for sure.
I
So
I agree
appreciate that.
completely. I agree completely.
Well, do you have anything else you'd like to note before we sign off on From the Road Less Traveled?
I'm excited about the series. I think we'll kind of see where it goes and hit different topics, and you know, um, yeah, hopefully it'll be helpful for somebody, at least one person, maybe.
I'm excited. We'll have some guest speakers too when we talk about things that we don't
Yeah, that'd be good.
know about. We'll invite some friends.
Yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun.